Greetings and welcome to the Cerebral Women Art Talks podcast. I'm Phyllis Hollis, your host. As an extension of my Instagram page, Cerebral Women, this podcast offers insights into the visual art world. I interview artists, mainly artists of color and female artists, who will freely articulate what inspires their creativity. In addition, you'll hear interesting perspectives from dedicated art professionals who work with artists and the art institutions that feature them. I'm confident that collectively, these individuals will indeed stimulate your mind as they do our eyes. Please know these interviews are conducted in my Manhattan apartment, so please forgive the background sounds of city life. Welcome to the Cerebral Women Art Talks podcast. In this episode, I featured Thaddeus Mosley. Born in 1926, he is a Pittsburgh-based artist whose monumental sculptures are crafted with the felled trees of Pittsburgh's urban canopy via the city's Forestry Division. His sculptures mark an inflection point in the history of American abstraction. These sculptural improvisations, as he calls them, takes cues from the modernist traditions of jazz. Thaddeus Mosley is a recipient of the 2022 Isamu Noguchi Award. His work has been exhibited and acquired by major museums and foundations since 1959. To mention a few, the Mattress Factory Museum in Pittsburgh, the Carnegie Museum of Art, Harvard Business School, both in 2020, Sculpture, Milwaukee, and also in 2020, the Baltimore Museum of Art, Bergen, Kunsthall in Norway in 2022, and Art Plus Practice in Los Angeles also in 2022. His work is held in public collections including the Baltimore Museum of Art, the Art Institute of Chicago, High Museum, Whitney Museum, Brooklyn Museum, Carnegie Museum of Art in Pittsburgh, and the Colby College Museum of Art in Maine. His traveling solo exhibition, Forest, previously at the Baltimore Museum of Art and Art Plus Practice in Los Angeles, will continue on to the Nasher Sculpture Center in Dallas, starting in May of 2023. Enjoy this episode featuring Thaddeus Mosley. Thaddeus, I want to thank you for joining me today on my podcast. I really appreciate your time.
I'm honored that you are interested in me and interested in what I do. Thank you.
Well, I know that you've been following your passion for a very long time. So I'm going to start with asking you, do you remember how you felt when you finally made the commitment to be an artist full time?
Well, it was a long time before I was able to do that, but I always thought of myself as an artist full time from almost the time I started. By the time I was really starting to do exhibit, I had been carving about 4 or 5 years, and I had a full-time job. I had a full-time job for 40 years, but I carved. I was doing sculpture and exhibiting long before I retired. I had my first show at the Carnegie Museum in 1966, and I didn't retire from work till 1992. So that shows you how long I was doubling out, so to speak.
So you work mainly with felled trees.
Yeah, felled trees, and I started out getting logs and trees from the park division here as they cut them down, a lot of parks. But later on, I'm more particular because you had to take pot luck. Then I started buying wood from tree surgeons and mill people that milled wood. There's a lot of sawmills down in western Pennsylvania, and I hooked up with one person about 20 years ago. And so I used mostly walnut and cherry wood.
Have you ever worked with other materials away from wood?
I've done some stone sculptures. Probably the most memorable one is for the Carnegie Library in the Hill District. I did a piece called Mountaintop for Martin Luther King. It's out of tan limestone. And I've done mixtures with wood, with stone, with glass, with metal, all sorts of stuff. Because, like I say, you're talking over a long period of time. I've done a lot of conceptual pieces that on anything much of what I do ordinarily.
And what other artists influenced you?
Well, my main influences have been African tribal arts, Brâncuși and Noguchi, and of course other things creep in, but those have been my main influences.
Are there concepts or thoughts that connect your work?
Well, I have a concept that you can probably say that defines my work, which is weight and space concept. That means the weight is on top, or should be, gives the sculpture a feeling of movement, levitation, and hopefully some vitality.
And how does listening to music impact your time in the studio?
Mainly it's company. I listen to music all the time, and whether I'm in the studio, whether I'm at home, sometimes I'll play records for 8 hours at a time. So it's a part of my life, just like having a lunch or dinner. It's just something that's very important to me. It has very little impact on my work, but it has a great deal of impact on my well-being and my feeling well and my happiness and so forth.
What would you say you enjoy most about the work you do?
What I enjoy most about it is the completed sculpture. And to me, that is the only thing that matters. Not too many other things I worry about, like how long it took to do it and how many different tools I used. To me, the most important thing, even other people's work, I don't read too much on the reviews or critiques. I mainly just look at the work. And that's me, the work is it. Like Shakespeare said, the play's the thing, the sculpture is it.
And when do you know that a work is finished?
Well, my things a lot of times are segmented. I have an idea when I start out. I don't draw, I don't make models. So I see it in my mind's eye what I want to do. I arrange the sculptures, the wood, the raw material, and I draw in chalk the forms I want. Then I start from there. Sometimes you have to make detours because when you're doing it without a definite fit, you have to make adjustments to make sure that they fit and make sure that they're stable.
And at what point do you decide to name a work?
Mostly when I have to getting ready to exhibit it, and it has to have a number, has to put our name for insurance and be able to identify it in a catalog. But sometimes I make pieces and I have something in mind. So I'll name it for a well-known person or an idea that I have.
And when you're working, do you ever think about who your audience will be? Like who's going to see the work and what will they think and feel?
No, I'm always hoping that the people that see it will have some real interest in sculpture, maybe a little background, and have a know of sculptural history, and maybe remind them. But it really doesn't matter, because sometimes people who've never seen anything are struck by something that it's brand new, and it can be an inspiration. It can be a new delight.
Question for you regarding where we are here in the world today. Do you feel Black art can be defined?
Well, I came up in the 60s and 70s when all this turmoil was going on between Afro-Americans. And so I say, if you're talking about Black art in the terms of identity, relevance, it can be mainly about what the artist himself or herself is trying to say. And because most people are coming from their own personal situation they live in. Of course, in many situations, you have large ghettos. And of course, not every Black person lives in that situation. But for the artist that is creating the work, a lot of them, this is where it comes from. But I just say, Black art is mainly about the social, political situations where Black people want to define their situation. But of course, they can go broader and say Black art is made by Black people. I don't know how illuminating that sort of thing is. But to me, it's about people portraying or talking about what's relevant to them in their own situation when they're Afro-Americans.
And if I would have asked you that question, let's say 30 or 40 years ago, do you think you would have answered it the same?
Oh, yes, because I went through a lot of this when we had Black people who artists, that was the only thing they did, and a lot of the only thing they do now, and also because they were rejecting Black people who were abstractionists or stuff that they couldn't immediately recognize as Afro-American art. I can tell you, I had worked from Black situations that was rejected because it wasn't relevant and it wasn't identifiable. So it hasn't changed that much. There just isn't as much emphasis politically as it was in the 60s and 70s.
What are you excited about right now?
Well, I'm excited about, I'm feeling well. I don't get too excited about anything. I just try to set a steady course. I know people say they want to be deliriously happy. I just want to be content. I'm not looking for over the top of anything, So as long as I feel well, I feel I got it made. Because so many people far younger than me are hospitalized. I always hear about people getting hip replacements, back replacements, shoulder. I don't have any of that. For all the years I've been lifting hundreds of pounds, So that's what I'm excited about.
So early on, you studied English and journalism.
Yeah, I was a double major, University of Pittsburgh, yeah.
So during that period of time, were you wishing you could have been studying art history?
During that period of time, I came from a town about 50 miles north of Pittsburgh where the arts, as in most places, aren't very much celebrated. I didn't know what sculpture was, and they didn't spend much time in schools with music. I thought in music you were sang in the acapella choir in high school, but they didn't spend really much time with visual arts and stuff like that. In ordinary schools that you would have to have gone to an elite school where this was going to be part of your life. And they didn't think where they were going to waste tax money on ordinary students. And it's even gotten worse now. There's very little art or music in any school in poor or they say disadvantaged or inner city neighborhoods,
So what does your workspace feel like? What does it look like?
Well, I have a large basement studio. The only thing is the ceiling is only 10 foot tall. But as I've gotten older, when I was younger, I wish it had been a lot taller. I've been in this area for the studio where I am now since 2000. Before that, I was in another space in the same complex. But the ceiling, over there, the ceiling was much higher, was about 20 foot. But it's a good workspace. I have access to a dock, and when we can bring in logs and materials and ship out shows and stuff. So I don't have to go 3 or 4 floors to get anywhere or ship the materials out.
I've really enjoyed this conversation. You've said so much with your answers. So let's wind down. What do you feel is the purpose of art?
Well, I think the purpose of art should be something that enhances your being to the point that you feel happy when you're in the environment you're in. It's one of the reasons I started making sculpture, but also it should have a humanizing effect on you, should make you think about other human beings, not only who are artists, but appreciate what people are contributing to humanity, hopefully. And it's about uplifting the human spirit. And like I say, I'm surrounded by all kinds of art, my friends, my family. And I think that like during the COVID, when many people were depressed, I never was, because I could come home and I would go from floor to floor and look at all my accumulations of sculpture, pottery, paintings, and so forth, and play a lot of very good music.
So as an artist, what do you feel is your role?
Well, I think the first thing is my role is to do what I would like and not worry about if it's going to make money or if other people are going to like it, and to live the life that I think that produces the type of art I like. You go back to the old Shakespearean line that says, "To thine own self be true," because there are a lot of people who making art, they change according to fashion. If this new thing comes in, they jump on that. Well, that's fine, because a lot of times people are trying to find something that they can really relate to, or their talents and sort of pull them that way. And like people, I say, "Well, are you still doing the same old thing?" I said, "Well, yeah, the same old thing is what makes me sing." So it's about being personal and not being disturbed, because you can remember, so many young people go through all these problems, not only young, but the old people, how people think about me, or how they're like. Well, if you spend your time doing that, you're not going to find what I say, the inner core of your creativity.
Thank you so much for your time, Thaddeus. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for offering me the time. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Cerebral Women Art Talks podcast. For additional content, please visit cerebralwomen.com and be sure to follow Cerebral Women on Instagram.